Hello, good morning. Happy hump day. It is Wednesday, August 13th here in Washington, D.C. I'm Manila Chan. Over there in Montana, producer Robby, who is trying to fix some tech issues on the Rumble studio side. Don't know if the Rumble folks can hear us at all.
They cannot.
But they cannot.
They cannot. So I am trying one more thing. It's kind of interesting. Rumble Studio does not like Rumble today, which is weird because it seems like being a Rumble product, that would be the one thing that it would absolutely work with. I think it's because the RTMP was used yesterday instead of Standard Studio.
Maybe I didn't click that though. So we're trying to troubleshoot in real time. So apologies for the late start. But I didn't click.
Oh, it was 100% up and running this morning when I was setting this up. So
no, I mean on my end on StreamYard, I didn't click the Rumble thing.
Nope, I get it. Just fuckery abounds. I don't know what it is, but let's see if we can make it work.
Well, so Rumble Studio is obviously still a new product, and they haven't figured out all the bugs and where there are holes and gaps in their technology. So if and when they figure that out,
yeah, this is impressive.
Bear with us.
So y'all are seeing this in real time, boys and girls. Welcome.
So this is, there's a lot of glitchy stuff going on, and people don't realize how much technology and all these different softwares are being used and all these add-ons and whatever that you have to add to the software that you use. But anyway, I'm Manila Chan. Again, that's producer Robby in for Ted Rall, who I think might be wrapping up his manifesto in Montana and heading back for New York later today. You are still tuned in to the Ted Manila Information Show, TMI for short, because we bring you way too much information.
At least if you're on YouTube, you are.
Well, yes, we'll bring you way too much information on YouTube or X, Twitter. I'm still dead naming because I'm old and I'll just always call it Twitter. So I guess if you're tuned in there, thank you. Rumble folks, we're trying to fix it. There are Rumble diehards. I'm a Rumble diehard for obvious reasons. But we are still live somewhere, somehow, on some platform, Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern.
Rumble is still failing.
Okay. So there you are. Rumble is still not cooperating. So apologies for the Rumble diehards. But the show must go on, as they say, and we will obviously post the video as a video. I guess that's not possible to do live. So there you are. So on today's show, well, it's Weird News Wednesday, right? There's a multitude of, I could classify these as weird stories. Like, for example, the first story, we'll talk about Zelensky arriving in Berlin to do a FaceTime call with Donald Trump. I don't know, Robby, I guess they don't have that kind of FaceTime or Zoom technology in Ukraine, which is fascinating considering they have, advanced drones and other stuff. They can do that.
Well, he had to go to a place
where to Berlin.
Well, he had to go to a place where they at least pretend to have freedom of speech.
So we'll talk about that first. Then we'll talk about another weird story because it just keeps getting weirder and nobody has any answers. None of the officials about Ghislaine Maxwell. And you guys already know she got her prison transfer to Camp Cupcake in Bryan, Texas. They moved her. They relocated her from her federal lockup in Florida over to Texas. And now she's apparently going to get work release. Like what kind of work, what kind of release work is she qualified for?
Well, anything, Manila. I mean, she shouldn't be in prison. I mean, how? Okay, so here's the thing. No, hear me out. Because
don't get into it though. We gotta wait.
Well, I mean, okay, yeah, we can wait. I'm gonna submit it. I'm gonna write a ticket to Rumble support right now while you're doing this.
Yeah, you figure out the tech stuff. But I'm just curious to all of the people watching out there right now on whatever platform. Please drop a comment. What kind of work is she qualified to do?
Well, she's obviously good at booking.
To get release.
She's obviously good
yeah,
at booking and working calendars and things. I mean, she's definitely a awesome
true.
nutritionist.
She's a trainer, as you can call, you can call her some sort of trainer, like massage therapy training. I don't know. We'll get into that, but I think that's a weird story. Like, it just gets weirder and weirder. Then Robby's going to share a little bit of his personal experience. I was running the show solo yesterday with Steve Gill, but I was pushing all the buttons yesterday because Robby had to be forced into sensitivity training.
It failed.
Mind you,
Spoiler.
mind you, he works in the medical industry, and I guess he's not sensitive enough. So his conclusion was feminism sucks. So I want to know what they were talking about. I've never had to do sensitivity training. So I'm curious to know. So Robby will get into that. And last but not least, we're going to look into supermarkets around the United States. A lot of these brands I've never even heard of. But allegedly, there's a map that allegedly shows all of the most affordable grocery stores in every state, including Alaska. So I wonder if, Robby, if Vladimir Putin might peruse like the Costco in Anchorage, because, Robby, according to all the media, Moscow is suffering. They don't have any food on the shelves. It's like 1992 all over again. That's what the media tells us, right? Like, so maybe Vladimir Putin will be shopping at Anchorage's most affordable grocery store because, apparently the Russian economy has gone to shit. So, yeah, we'll talk about all this weird stuff as Robby tries to figure out how to get Rumble going. So I'll get started.
Oh, it's not going to. I'm just have to run the video because I'm submitting a ticket right now. I mean, I have done everything short of deleting the channel. It's completely foobarred.
Well, that sucks. Okay,
Yep.
so we'll figure that out on the back end. So thank you guys for bearing with us. But such is life for the tech stuff that we have to do for live stream.
Well, hey, at least it didn't happen yesterday when you're by yourself.
I know. I would have
all things being
shit my
equal.
pants.
So all things being equal, no, it is what it is.
Because you guys know me, I'm no friend of technology. And if any of this had happened yesterday and I was terrified something like this would happen, I would not know what to do or troubleshoot because I'm just not friends with technology. So there you are. Robby's the tech person. So, all right, we'll get into the news. I'll let Robby do that, and I'll read you some of the news that's going on. All right. So see that helicopter right there? That is Volodymyr Zelensky's chopper landing in Berlin. So what are we looking at? So Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Berlin on Wednesday to join online talks with European allies and U.S. President Donald Trump ahead of his high-stakes Anchorage meeting about the war in Ukraine. Zelensky was welcomed by the German Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, right there. I don't know how tall Mr. Merz is, but he makes Zelensky look teeny tiny. I really do think I might be bigger than Zelensky, but anyway, that's beside the point. So Friedrich Merz stepped out onto the lawn there to greet Zelensky. Mr. Merz is the one who organized the video conference on short notice in a bid to make sure Kiev and its European partners remain in the loop amid Trump's Friday talks with the Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska. Following bilateral talks over lunch, Merz and Zelensky are due to hold online discussions at 2 p.m. local time with the leaders of France, Britain, Italy, Poland, and Finland, as well as the heads of the European Union and NATO, before hopping onto another call with Trump and J.D. Vance. Now, you guys recall he had a little bit of a verbal tussle with the vice president the last time he was here at the White House, not that long ago. Who can forget that? European governments fear the Trump-Putin talks, the first meeting of its kind since Trump took office in January, could lead to territorial concessions to Russia that Kiev has so far firmly rejected. Trump has described the Alaska meeting as an effort to move toward ending the war that has now entered its fourth year, including possible land swaps. Now, swap is not, I hate that term. I don't think it's the correct word, because there ain't going to be no swaps. Swapping is like hey, I have this red sweater, you have that blue sweater. I really like that. Can we trade? That's a swap. Vladimir Putin ain't swapping anything.
Like, he can't.
Robbie, there's no swap. There have been territorial gains, and to the victor go the spoils of war. That's the bottom line. That's what's going to happen. Like, Trump has no cards. Zelensky has no cards, short of Trump doing something insane and saying, we're going to send US troops, or NATO agreeing today to do something insane, like saying, we're going to send in NATO troops. Short of that, what cards do they have to play? None. There's no swap here. Like, the Russian military has been gradually and slowly, successfully gaining ground, very too slow by most accounts for, the people in Russia. They're not happy that it's gone this slowly. They really wanted Putin to have, this steamroll effect, but that's not the tact that Vladimir Putin took. So there ain't going to be no swapping. They've taken pretty much the bulk of the Donbass. It's done. Like, there's no swapping.
I think what they're going to do, I think they're going to press all the way to the Dnieper River, personally, because here's the thing. Russia annexed those 4 oblasts. So it's in the Constitution. Even if Putin wanted to make a deal, to do a land swap, legally he can't, because it's codified in law. I mean, if he wants to be retired out of a window, that would be the way that he would do it.
Yeah, I don't think there's any, nothing doing there. I think, look, I said this yesterday, and neither you nor Ted were able to hear it, but I understand Russian culture. It's a very Eastern based culture, and there is no way that Vladimir Putin would accept even the terms of where to meet unless there were some prearranged, pre-negotiated conditions before he would set foot on US soil, because otherwise they would be meeting like in Istanbul or Ankara, or someplace that's like a neutral place. Vladimir Putin would not be setting foot on US soil unless there was something he knew, like he got a bird in the hand, right? There's no way he would be setting foot here. So I think there have already been concessions made by Donald Trump that are going to favor the Russian side. And I don't think Zelensky has a choice but to accept it, because Zelensky, that is not actually a decision maker. He tries to act and pretend like he is. He presents like he is. He is, the chief panhandler for the current regime, but he's not even an elected leader anymore. His term ended more than a year ago, and he is punted on elections. So this guy is only still in power and barely clinging to it. This guy's only still in power because the EU and NATO have allowed him to be. Any other person that's running name any country, any supposed democracy where you've punted on elections for a full year, name any country that the US or NATO or the EU would be cool with if it wasn't this guy acting as a proxy, acting as a sock puppet. And the sock puppet now thinks he has some say over what happens next. That's ridiculous. I'm hearing that behind closed doors, he's only putting up this show. Zelensky's putting up the show to save face. That's what I'm hearing. But that he knows deep in his heart that Orange Man is El Jefe. He's the boss. And it's over.
Well, he's a proxy. At the end of the day, I mean, that is what he is. He is a pawn. And this is what I think that people, especially here in the United States, don't really understand. Russia's not a war with Ukraine. Russia's fighting in Ukraine.
Right.
Russia's at war with the United States. And so
That's the
what
theater. Ukraine is the theater of war.
correct. Correct. So, whenever Lindsey Graham goes up and says, "Oh, this is a great deal, we're inflicting all this pain on Russia," which is true. I mean, there's probably 500,000 dead, wounded Russians right now. I mean,
Yeah.
they're paying a price for this. And so, whenever Lindsey Graham says, you know, no American blood has been spilled, that is absolute correct. That's absolutely correct. Russia could not inflict a military defeat on Russia because the United States is not military involved. It will be a
Yeah.
political defeat. And so that's what this is.
Yeah. But let's be honest, Robby. When was the last time the US actually won any war in any theater? Maybe in the Pacific in World War II?
Oh, the Korean War. That was an American victory.
Is it technically a victory though if it's
Yeah.
ended in a frozen conflict?
But what was the point? I mean, the entire point was to preserve South Korea and keep it from being conquered by the North. South Korea is still an independent sovereign nation. So yeah, I mean that is an American
Well,
victory.
sovereign in the way that it's also a US lapdog.
Well, of course, but I mean, what country isn't? I mean, a very small amount. But the point is, though, is that unlike South Vietnam, which no longer exists, there's still a South Korea that you're able to go to. No, it still
Yeah.
exists. It's a function. It is a functioning nation. So I would submit to you that Korea was a victory. You could probably say Grenada was. Whenever Reagan swooped in there and threw the Cubans out. But as far as the problem is that America is not very good at empire building. That's the problem. We're really
Yeah.
good at going
Right.
in, killing people, and blowing stuff up, but we're not really good about asking what happens next. That's the
Yeah,
problem.
yeah.
That's
We're
the
not
issue.
good at we're great at going in and destroying a place. We're not good at rebuilding.
Right. No, South
That's the
Korea.
honest truth.
Oh no, 100%. No, South Korea is the exception, not the rule. But no, I would submit that the Korean War was the last true American victory in a war against a peer competitor. In this case, China.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair assessment. But here, in terms of the theater being in Ukraine, we know this was, anyone that's actually paid attention, we know that this was a US proxy war under Joe Biden. We saw when Kamala Harris went to the Munich Security Conference and said in these exact terms, we will welcome Ukraine into NATO and we will forge a path for your entry. We are inviting you to join NATO. When she knew, well, actually, I take that back. I don't know if Kamala Harris actually knew the implications of the words that were, fed to her, because let's be honest, when she talks on her own, she talks about, like, I don't know, coconut trees and things falling on your head, and she says weird stuff. So this was the line that was fed to her, and she said it on live TV, and there was no taking it back. And
No.
that was the red line that the Russians had always put down since the days that Bill, oh gosh, what's his face? The former CIA director. Wow, I'm having some brain farts today. Bill Burns.
Burns. Yeah.
I
Net
I
means
keep wanting to say
net
Bar.
means
Yes,
niet.
the "Niet means Niet" memo when he was, I can't think today, Robby. When he not before he was the CIA director, when he wasn't an ambassador. What was he?
Uh, he was what the hell was he? He wasn't
Not the
this.
envoy.
No, he was. He was the ambassador to Russia.
Oh, he was the ambassador?
Yeah,
Okay,
he
I
was
do
the
have
ambassador
that
to
right.
Russia.
Yeah, I had a lot going on yesterday, folks. I didn't get a lot of sleep.
Oh, I
This is
I
what
did too.
happens
I
in
feel
middle
you.
age. This is
Yeah.
what happens in middle age. I just want to be clear.
No, because I rewatched the episode on Monday where you had where you on with our friend Scott Stannis, and I respect Scott Stannis to death, super smart guy. But if he
Yeah, yeah.
anyone who thinks that Russia will ever allow Ukraine to go into NATO, they're on
Yeah.
drugs. That will never
That'll
happen.
never happen.
They
Never,
will.
never. They will burn the whole continent down before that happens.
Yeah, I mean, the last 3 times that the Russians have been invaded was all
I've
those
been through
invasion routes
Ukraine.
went through Ukraine. I mean, it would be like us allowing Russia or China to have a military base in Canada or in Mexico. It will never
It will
happen.
never happen. It'll never happen. It just
No,
won't.
so here's what I think is going to happen, and I've just been thinking about this a lot. I went to bed like 2 o'clock in the morning this morning because I was just thinking about this because that's what I do. I think that what Russia's going to do is that they're going to make some demands, and Trump's going to have to just do some wheeling and dealing. I think what's going to happen is that the Europeans are going to say no. I think here's what the Russians are going to say: there will never be a Ukraine and NATO. I think the Russians are willing to
That
let
has
the
to be codified. That has
yeah,
to be like put on paper
yep. And
that this can never happen.
and here's the thing. I think what Putin's going to do, because he understands law, he understands the American political system better than most Americans do. He's not going to accept an agreement from Trump. He's going to want a treaty ratified by the Congress.
Wow.
Well, because that's what you would need. Because if let's say, for example, if I became president today, and if I signed an executive order, or if I just made some kind of an agreement, okay, fine, my term ends in 3.5 years. What security guarantee is that? It's none. You will need an actual treaty. Congress would never go for it. And so I think what Trump's going to try to do, he's going to try and weasel some things out. Now, Trump may try to starve the Ukrainians out of resources and money. But at the end of the day, though, what's going to happen is that the Europeans are then going to keep running more and more deficits to try and keep Ukraine into the fight. And I do see a scenario where European peacekeepers go into Ukraine, and if they do, I don't think they're ever going to leave. The Russians will kill every last man of them.
Well, and that would be a poor move by the EU and whatever their proxy forces are. So the problem here is the Europeans are financially in a weak position at this point in time. I get that they have some feelings about Vladimir Putin. We know, but I feel like if Donald Trump leads the way, he's basically dictating directly to the Europeans, hey, this is how this whole thing shakes out. This is what we're going to do. And either they get on board or they don't. I played a soundbite from JD Vance talking with Maria Bartiromo on Monday. And JD Vance basically said, we, the US, we are done. We are not trying to send any more US tax dollars. We're not trying to give you guys free weapons anymore. We're out of this Ukraine business. So that's, Maria's face was kind of like, oh, you are? And he's like, no, we're done. However, he said, but what he did say, that here's the caveat where the Europeans come in, is he said, however, if the Europeans want to keep this war going, that's their prerogative. We'll continue to manufacture and they can buy them. Mm-hmm. They can buy our weapons, and whatever they do with it, they can give it to whoever they want. They can sell it on the black market. They can, give it to Israel. They can give it to Zelensky, whatever. I'm paraphrasing, of course, but he basically said, once the sale is complete, you do with it what you want to do. That's basically what JD Vance said. So, is the war just over because, Trump, makes whatever concession in Alaska? Not necessarily, but that's the only way that the Europeans, if they want to continue going down this route, then they're going to have to spend their money to buy U.S. arms. And I don't think they are in the financial position to do this, especially with Germany, with their manufacturing down for the first time. We saw a Volkswagen plant close for the first time in its modern history. Yeah. Like, that's a bad sign when your chief auto manufacturer shuts down a place, they have never shut down since they expanded, in the latter half of the 20th century. They've never shut down in any place, any country that they're in. That's a bad sign. And France isn't too happy either, right? With all of their financial woes and they're trying to, they in Germany, the French in Germany, if they're not in the best of shape, who else? I mean, they're propping up the whole of the European Union. You have the European Union Commission president, Ursula von der Leyen, over here egging on more war. She's not going to change her position. But how is she going to get the 27 members to be like, here, we're going to pour more money into buying American arms because we want to keep this going?
Well, here's the problem. You're making the assumption that the European governments give a crap what their people want. I mean, that's obviously not the case.
That's true. Fair.
If you own a bank, you can always print more euros to buy American money, buy American weapons using inflation to pay for it, while you shaft your domestic population, which is what they've been doing for the last 3 years anyway. So, I mean, let's just look at Romania. The European Union did not like the election results. So what did they do? They canceled the election. Emmanuel Macron, his major political opponent, God, what the hell is that lady's name? I'm having a brain fart.
Candace Owens.
Le Pen. They drummed up some BS political charge. Right. She can't run anymore. So let's just stop pretending that European nations are democratic, right, because they're not. Right. That's the issue. And so that's what I'm saying is just, I do not see this happening, unless Trump, and Trump is not going to be able to do this, goes to Congress and gets a treaty. Because that's what it's going to require. Because
but seriously, I know, like, if Trump is going to do anything here stateside right now, before the midterms, right now, the Republicans own both chambers right now. That is set to change in about a year. Like, it'll be almost, I predict almost an even split, because the Republicans only barely own, by a couple of seats in each chamber, barely own the Senate and House, barely. And some of those people are bound to lose their majority. So if he's going to do that, he has to do it now. And he needs to be able to tell the war hawks and neocons like Lindsey Graham, sit your ass down. We're doing this. We're doing XYZ. And if you don't, I will primary you. I will support whoever and primary you, and get away from trying to primary people like, I know this is a pipe dream, but trying to get away. Don't stop going against Thomas Massie, who is wildly popular not only in Kentucky, but across the United States, because people are realizing, oh, wow, this might actually be one of the good guys on Capitol Hill.
Well, of course he is.
Trump needs to get away from Lindsey Graham.
Yeah, but he's not going to. I mean, Trump has made his bed. I mean, let's just be honest. We're gonna have ourselves a little bit of real talk right here, real quick, before we move on to the next segment. Trump has thrown his lot in with the neocons. He is a wholly owned creature now of the deep state. He has been since the middle of his first term. That is a statement of fact. The fact that he is going out of his way to blow up his coalition to protect a pedophile and his madam, and then going out of his way to wage war against his own party, a la Thomas Massie and Rand Paul, over the fact they want to be America first.
Right.
Trump is done. The Trump agenda is done. Trump is not going to get any more meaningful legislation past his term. He is done. And J.D. Vance, the mask is off. That dude, want to know why he's hiding in the shadows? Because he's too much of a wimp to come out and stand up against the boss and say, Mr. President, this is not what we ran on. If J.D. Vance was the leader he pretends to be whenever he's not wearing his mascara, he would come up.
Mascara.
He would stand up and say, Mr. President, I respect you. I love you. I'm here, but you're dead wrong on this. Talk is cheap. This is nothing more than theater. That's all this is.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously we're not going to figure out how to move forward from here, but I think you're right in that Vladimir Putin is going to want a real treaty.
Yeah.
Something executed, I don't know, maybe in Geneva, like another Geneva on the new territories and Ukraine.
Yeah. Well,
Never being allowed to enter NATO. Never.
Let's say you're the president of Laos. Okay, I'm going to promote you. You're now the president of Laos. Laos is now a fully functional nation with a real economy and a real military. Okay.
Oh,
You
they're
go to war,
heavily in debt. I don't like that.
and you, well, America's $37 trillion in debt. Who cares? You have a bank, just print your way out of it. You go to war against Cambodia. The Cambodians, okay, we're on the ropes right now. Let's play uncle. Would you want something in writing codifying your gains, or would you take the word of some guy who's literally a lame duck, not to rearm, and they just have to fight the whole thing 3 years later?
No, obviously I'm with you on that. I get what Vladimir Putin would want and probably his demands, not to just say, hey, like Crimea, hello, dum-dums. We didn't annex Crimea. Crimea voted to secede and then asked to join the Federation. And we said yes.
Oh.
There was not a single drop of blood that was shed during this supposed annexation, 10 plus years ago in Crimea. So that's going to be part of the deal that you all have to recognize officially in an international treaty. Like, I get it. I get what Vladimir Putin would want.
Sure.
And this is an existential thing to the Russians. And I feel like the West has never acknowledged their real fears that are valid. And we as Americans would have real valid fears as well. Like if, let's say the Russians made a deal with Claudia Sheinbaum and was like, hey, we're going to have some security pact with Mexico.
Yeah.
Russia and Mexico. That would not fly. So it's an existential issue.
Yeah, they could train the drug cartels to be a police force to crack down on the coyotes. Same thing.
I mean, seriously, but the West, with mainstream media and saying what they've said for the last 3 or 4 years about Russia. We know the Russia hoax is fake, but not even allowing, in the same way that we're seeing it in Ukraine, not allowing for any dissenting voices, not allowing to hear perspectives that are anything other than State Department talking points or DOD talking points. That's why Americans don't have the empathy. I'm talking about American people have, en masse, why they view the Russians as like evil. Because, since the Cold War, right? That generation hasn't died. They're seniors now. They're senior citizens at this point, and they are passing down those beliefs to the younger generation because the US needs hegemony, and instead of being friends with more people and saying, hey, there's enough of the world to keep everybody successful, all the big powers, that's your part of the world. This side is our part of the world. Let's be friends and see how us big dogs can play well, instead of trying to suppress and oppress other big nations and be one hegemonic power. That doesn't work in the 21st century. It is a Cold War mentality, and it doesn't work anymore. Like, you're not going to bully China, and you're not going to bully Russia. It doesn't work.
Well, more to the point than that. I mean, no, the boomers, that Cold War generation you're just talking about, the majority of them are actively supporting a genocide in Gaza that people are able to see. Yeah. And so that's making people ask questions. So Russia bad when they've killed less than 1% of civilians of the number that Israel has killed in Ukraine or in Gaza, using our weapons and our tax dollars. And so people are now asking that question. Why is it okay for Israel to commit a genocide fully funded by the U.S. military, but it's bad for Russia to defend its interests and keep America out? I think that's the disconnect. I think that both the Democratic and the Republican parties are going to have a come to Jesus moment sooner rather than later, and I don't think the leadership is ready to accept that reality.
Well, I just hope something comes of Friday's talk. I mean, we're just days away, and what Zelensky's trying to do here in this FaceTime conversation, he thinks he's going to try to plant some seeds so that way when Trump goes into these talks in Anchorage, that he's going to go in with a different mindset. It's almost like all these Olympic athletes or big time sports athletes in the US, before they have like the big game, before the Super Bowl or whatever, like Tom Brady, gets on the horn with like Tony Robbins, right? One of these like self-help coaches, and gets your head right. They do that. That's what Zelensky's trying to do, is he's trying to do some voodoo woo onto Trump's brain, and in order to kind of thwart any potential for peace. He doesn't want peace. The grift, he needs the grift to continue in order to enrich himself. But Robby, we've seen all through history, if you become, I mean, Kissinger has said it best, right? It's dangerous to be an enemy of the United States, but it's deadly.
It's fatal to be its friend.
To be a friend. And, Zelensky, aren't you America's best friend? You're Nancy Pelosi's best friend. You're besties with everybody on Capitol Hill. So take a lesson. I don't think that little actor, that comedic actor, knows what he's actually in store for. So I don't know. All right.
He's got his villa. He'll be fine.
His villa is not going to keep him safe, Robby. Let's be honest.
Now you're being anti-Semitic. Let's move on.
Yes, because that's what I think of too when I think of Zelensky. He's like a Jewish, like white supremacist over in Kiev. Like none of that makes any sense. But none of it's Weird News Wednesday. None of it has to make any sense. It's the world we're living in, folks. All right. Over to this weird story with this lady. So Ghislaine Maxwell, you guys see there. You all know who she is. So President Trump and his child sex trafficking friend there, Ghislaine Maxwell, appears to be eligible for work release assignments outside of this minimum security camp that she's been transferred to after meeting with Trump's former defense lawyer, who is now a top DOJ official. Maxwell's Bureau of Prisons classification shows her custody status as out, like it's stamped out, which normally means she's permitted to work outside of the federal prison camp from Byron, Texas, where she's currently being held. That is a privilege that convicted sex offenders are not permitted to do under the Bureau's own rules.
Well, why is she in jail?
The Bureau of Prison. Well, that's right. Because, right. Apparently, she didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah, there's no crime.
There's no crime. The BOP.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The BOP is citing privacy rules. They declined to respond to media inquiries about Maxwell's status and how she obtained it despite her 2021, and this is just a couple of years ago, despite her 2021 conviction on sex trafficking charges. Sheldon Whitehouse, a Democratic senator from Rhode Island and member of the Senate Judiciary Committee that oversees the Bureau of Prisons, wrote a letter last week to the BOP asking how Maxwell came to be transferred to a minimum security prison camp in apparent violation of its own policy. Quote, Ghislaine Maxwell's quiet transfer to Club Fed does not comport with the seriousness of the sex crimes she was found guilty of. That's fair. It just so happens, this is another quote, it just so happens that the transfer was facilitated 1 week after Maxwell's highly unusual meeting with the Deputy Attorney General. This whole thing reeks of coordinated protection rackets run at the taxpayer's expense to shield the president from the fallout from his years-long friendship with the notorious sex trafficker. Maxwell, who is now 63, was indicted in 2020 during Trump's first stint in the White House. The year after, her associate, I love that they call him an associate, Jeffrey Epstein, was found hanged in his own jail cell following his indictment on charges of trafficking girls as young as 14 into a world of sexual predation and abuse with Maxwell's help. Maxwell was then convicted by a federal jury in 2021 and sentenced to 20 years in prison starting in 2022. Testimony from her trial showed that she sometimes participated in Epstein's rape of girls, in addition to searching for and grooming the victims. The federal prison system ordinarily treats sex offenders more strictly than other inmates. According to the BOP, even in cases where a defendant is originally charged with sexual assault but ultimately pleads guilty to a simple assault, the fact of the rape accusation follows the inmate, who is then labeled a sex offender when entering prison. The classification makes it impossible to be transferred to the lowest security prisons. Minimum security facilities, derisively known as club feds, are thereby allowed to participate in programs that permit inmates to work outside of the fence, quote, with a minimum of 2-hour intermittent staff supervision. That's according to the Federal Bureau of Prison rules. So Trump, as you guys know, was friends with Epstein, frequently seen socializing with him, in the heyday of the 90s, early 90s, often attending parties stocked with young models. Trump was friends with Ghislaine Maxwell for even longer because of her dad, Robert Maxwell, because obviously he was a British publishing magnate who in 1991 bought the New York Daily News. And we know, Trump being the New York real estate guy, hobnobbed with all of the bigwigs in New York, and Robert Maxwell was one of them. So he has known Ghislaine for several years longer. So, hello, is there any coincidence, Robby? I think not. But seriously, what kind of work is Ghislaine Maxwell qualified for?
Well, here's the thing. I mean, that entire story about her being convicted for rape and trafficking, it's all fake news. It never happened.
Apparently.
You cannot rape and traffic people if there's no customers. By definition, that is fake news. Here's what should happen. She should be taken to the White House today. She should meet with President Trump, Dan Bongino, Kash Patel. They should all beg her for forgiveness for wrongfully slandering her and persecuting her and putting her in jail. That is exactly what should happen, because you cannot have a crime if there's no victims.
Well, yeah,
you can't do it.
Well, no. There's somehow in this particular case, victims exist, but there were no customers.
Well, that's a distinction of the difference. I mean, for example, if I go to your house and if I kick your dog, and then I get called for animal control, or I get called, the police call me for animal cruelty, and they go to your house to arrest me, but you don't have a dog. I obviously didn't commit animal cruelty because there's no dog for me to kick. That's exactly what's happening here. So I mean, let's just be honest.
That's why it's a Weird News Wednesday. It's very weird.
Trump should be impeached. Trump should be impeached for this. But no.
Over this?
Oh, of course.
I would think there are other reasons, but like this?
Yeah.
Over Maxwell?
Well, of course. Because I mean, so here's the thing. What is a president supposed to do? A president is supposed
I don't know anymore.
He's supposed to be the chief executive of the United States government. Okay. So if he is covering up for a foreign intelligence agency or any intelligence agency, which he obviously is, he's breaking the law.
Well, allegedly, Pam Bondi had notified the president that his name appears in the files. I mean, and we know that obviously because they're not only were they social friends, but they Jeffrey Epstein was a long-time member of the club in Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah.
And Virginia Giuffre, the now deceased, most vocal victim of Jeffrey Epstein and Prince Andrew. Remember, she was like a locker room attendant at Mar-a-Lago. That's where Ghislaine met her, at Mar-a-Lago.
Yeah. Well, Robert Maxwell, her dad, do you know where he's buried?
In Israel somewhere, no? Like an
The,
important, like Mossad type.
the, the Mount of Olives, where only heroes of the state of Israel are buried. That is so like their equivalent of Arlington is where he's
Oh, I
buried.
see.
So he gets his daughter in with our wonder little pedophile right there. But there's no client. There's no client list. There's no customers. I mean, there's no money going. There's no money changing hands. There's no favors. This is not about Trump. I think that's where people are missing the boat here. I don't think Trump's weakness is that he goes around, he diddles little girls. I don't think
No,
that's
I
what
don't.
he does.
I really don't think that either.
No,
I don't.
what Trump is doing is that he is protecting the American elite in government, academia, and finance. That's what he's doing. The lies are not for our benefit. The lies are the reason why he's telling these lies and blowing up his base, destroying his legacy, destroying his movement, is to protect the people in America in the American elite who were clients for the girls that woman
Oh,
right
sure.
there on the screen set up. If we don't have a client list, she cannot be a madam. She cannot be a human
Right.
trafficker.
That's right.
So
If the
she
glove don't
should be
fit,
pardoned.
you must acquit.
That's it. And so that's what people need to come and they need to realize here. So then the next question is, okay, well, where did Epstein make all of his money? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. It just happened. It was
Well,
gifted to him.
he was also friends. He was friends, and I put that in quotes. He was friends with some actual wealthy people that like
Well,
owned businesses and
well,
corporations, like the biggest clothing manufacturer in the US, like I forget his name, but they were backyard neighbors, like their houses were adjoined by their backyard, their mansions, I should say, were adjoined by backyards.
yeah, the
And
dude who owned Victoria's Secret. I can't think of his name right now.
yeah, like what's the brands? I forget the name of the, but the whole brand is the parent company to Victoria's
Yeah.
Secret and all that. So he was friends with him. That dude, within the first 2 years of knowing Jeffrey Epstein, gave Jeffrey Epstein full legal rights to control his empire. He became literally his power of attorney and overrode business decisions. Like, I mean, it's very, all of this is like very, the one thing connecting all of these people were that all of these people were very much Zionists.
Mhm.
And Ghislaine Maxwell, her dad, obviously, was one of those people. And now she, even though we know that she was predatory to at least Virginia Giuffre by kind of sweet talking her out of her job. She's like, "Why do you want this shitty locker room attendant job? You can make hundreds of dollars a day by just, wiping the sweat off of old men
Yeah, but that's
at a
obviously not
mansion
true.
in Florida."
But it's not true. It didn't happen. Manila,
Les
there's no customer
Wexner.
list.
Thank you, Anna Mander. Les Wexner, that's his name.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
she should go to the White House and she should receive a full pardon. Trump should get on his knees and apologize, along with that lying piece of crap, Dan Bongino, that lying turd.
Man, how that guy has turned once he got into official office. Man, he was like one of the chief guys on, alternative media, on top of this Jeffrey Epstein stuff.
He had the biggest show in Rumble. He had the biggest show in Rumble. Now, his brand is dead, and I say good riddance. Dan Bongino, may you rot in hell.
You think he's a phony?
Sack of crap. Well, you tell me.
I didn't follow his show, so I don't really know what he covered, but
okay, but let's just put it this way. So you've known me for a pretty good while, and then we'll move on to the next story. If through some miracle, if I got appointed to be the deputy director of the FBI, and this is on my list, Do you think I would carry the party line and say, "Oh no, Epstein killed himself. There's no client list," or do you think I would tell Trump to go fuck himself and I would go public with everything?
You would.
Me, yes. So,
Producer
it,
Robby would, but Dan
so is Dan?
Bongino, obviously,
Well,
it's a different story.
so is Dan Bongino fake? I don't know. Compare him with me.
Well, compared to you, yes. So
There you go.
yeah, I don't know if fake is the right a phony is the right thing. I think he's a coward. I would
Well, obviously,
label him a coward for sure. He acts like Mr. Tough Guy, and then he gets this appointment by Trump, and he wusses out. He's a big old wuss
yeah.
because he knows what's right. He knows everything he had been saying. The clips, I didn't watch his show regularly, but of course you can't miss clips. Like the clips show up everywhere you look online, and he was like one of the chief guys that was staying on top of the entire Maxwell case. That's why he left Fox, because he was getting so successful on alternative media by riding the whole wave about Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell and diving deep into like her family's past and all of that. And then suddenly he gets this federal job and poof,
Yeah. Him and Cash Patel both. Let's move on.
poof. Yeah, poof.
We beat this horse enough.
All weird news, Robby. That's all weird news Wednesday because there's no crime. So this poor woman.
No,
All
she's
right.
innocent.
This one you got to lead because we need to know what happened. So you guys, if you follow the show, Robby is very conservative, Christian conservative, if we have to do labels, right, to paraphrase what he would be. But I've known you for many years now, Robby. I know a lot of people might view you as a male chauvinist, maybe even they might label you that. They might label you a whole bunch of things.
Sure.
Maybe like a white supremacist that has mixed race kids with a black woman that you've been married to for like 100 years. You enslaved her. You're labeled a lot of things, but somehow at work, I want to know why you, and I don't know how many other people were there, why you guys were forced, and was it all men? Why you guys were forced into sensitivity training, and what all was it? What did they teach you? What were they espousing?
Okay, so there are about 100 of us in this room.
100?
Yeah. So it was a campus-wide training. There's been multiple trainings of these. And
men, or was it mixed sex?
It was mixed sex. So it was just all about no respect, no. It's basically it's a big DEI push, is what it is. Diversity, equity, inclusion. I got fast tracked into this because, as you know, I had to dust up with my boss, and so
yes.
So she scheduled me to go in with her into this training yesterday. Okay, fine.
Oh wait, she was there too?
Oh yeah, she was there, and it gets even better. So we go in and we start talking, and so this woman just starts. So you do these little videos and stuff about how you have to acknowledge your place of privilege if you're in a position of power demographically, and you have to understand that your words can be violence, and just the power that you have over minority groups and disadvantaged populations. And so about 30 minutes in, well,
wait,
about an
am
hour
I
in.
among those? Would they classify me as disadvantaged?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you are. You are a you're a woman. You're a minority. You're currently out of work, so you are by definition that's you. And so
I'm a weak suck is
yes,
basically what they're calling me. Okay,
correct.
cool.
Yeah, you have no agency over your life. You have no ability to change your
Right.
position whatsoever. You are what you are. This is the category in which you have been
Right.
placed by the evil white male. Okay.
Right.
So
I've got a vagina.
yeah,
I'm brownish colored,
right.
and I'm currently unemployed. So
Right.
I'm okay. So I should be threatened by you, is what they're teaching?
Oh, very much so, because I am the problem. I am the enemy. And
Oh,
so
okay.
about halfway through, they open it up for Q&As. And so
Okay.
me, people hear my accent, they immediately think I'm retarded, which I love because it really just kind of lets their arms down, lets the guard down, right? So I raised my hand and I was like, ma'am, I want to thank you for this talk. I just have some questions. I just need you to help me to define the terms here because I don't understand. What exactly, when you talk about minority, are you just talking about a group of people where there's fewer of them, and so as a result of there being fewer of those people, that they lack power, or at least as much power, in government or the workplace, wherever else? She said that's completely correct. That
Okay.
just because there's fewer of you, that you don't have the political
Right. Well,
power,
by
and you
definition,
feel threatened.
that is what a minority is, just
Sure,
like the Democrats are the minority on Capitol Hill right now because
right.
there's fewer of them.
Yeah, but what I was doing, I was baiting a trap, and so this woman just walks right into it. I should really start playing chess. So she just walks right in. I said, "Well, great. So then I have a question for you, and I have another question follow up. Let's just take this room for an example. The majority of people in this room are women. The majority of people who work in healthcare are women.
Yeah.
So men are a minority. So then let's just go ahead and just cut this thing down a little bit more. Let's say if you have your LGBTQ, SUV, ABCDEFG types, then your gender fluid types, and then your Furby types, and you just cut them down even more.
Wait, Furby?
Furbies,
What's a Furby?
People think that they're animals, and so
Oh. Oh,
then
furry? Are they
yeah,
called furries?
yeah, furries, I don't know what the hell they are. They're
Furby is
perverts.
that toy from, like, the early 2000s with it looked kinda
Yeah,
like a gremlin turned, like, smushed, like,
yeah, and so well
that's
then
Furby.
by your definition, the minority in this room, in this meeting, and in this organization is the straight white male. So why aren't you
Okay.
listening to our concerns? Because we're disadvantaged by your own definition. Manila, you could have heard a pin drop. The room went
I'm
silent.
sure.
And then someone in the back started doing this. And the next thing you know, like
Okay.
20 guys start clapping. This woman, she went beet red. She was freaking out. And she's and
Well, right
now
there,
keep
the
in mind,
patriarchy.
well,
That's
keep
what
in
it is. You
mind,
gotta uproot the patriarchy.
keep in
Those
mind, my boss is in this room one table over from where I am. My
Okay.
boss is there. And she looks like
Robbie's
she wants
boss
to
is a
crawl up under a
woman, by
table.
the way.
She is
Robbie's boss is a woman.
dumb as a box of hammers. Anyway, uh, so she's like, well, what you don't understand is that you as white men, you have power. I said, but you just said that by virtue of our minority status, we have no power. Now I'm going to take it a step further. I am in this training at the behest of my boss, who is sitting right there, and I point at her. My other two bosses are both women. I am the only guy who works in my department. The majority of healthcare workers are women, especially ones who are in management. So by definition, my even being here shows I have no power whatsoever. Instead of being in the office doing my job, I'm sitting here listening to you try and spin a definition that you just gave me. And they
The
immediately called
logic
for a
sucks.
recess. They immediately called for a recess. My boss, Manila, I thought she was going to have a stroke. She was so red. It was great. It was a thing of beauty. I am so sick and tired. That's the problem with feminism. It sucks. It's illogical. It's retarded. It it completely breaks everything from women should be at home making babies and sandwiches. They should not
Oh
be
my god.
doing what they're doing right now. So I will wear that misogyny label. Get this is insane. This is completely insane. It's an entirely
I'm
broken system.
obviously not I am not there with Robbie. I believe women should have the equal rights, but my problem with modern day feminism, and I like to consider myself a post-modern feminist, is that I I don't think women who choose to stay at home or choose to be a mom or choose women who want to do that, I don't think they should be shamed for doing that. I don't think I don't think it's a bad thing that women want to go get an education or a career, but they shouldn't be shamed into feeling a certain way about, being conflicted of like, because I was there when I in my younger days. I mean, why do you think I waited so long before I finally quote settled down and got married and started a family was because I'm from California, and that my whole life, this whole, like, this kind of a march that we're looking at,
Yeah.
they're like slut pride. And I should point out that's a guy carrying the sign that's that says slut pride. And there's some, I think that's, I don't know if that's German.
I don't
There's,
know.
I don't know, something in German. I don't know. But in California, it in the 80s and 90s, it went beyond just little girls can do the same jobs that boys can do, or little girls can go to college too. It went beyond that. By the time I graduated high school in the 90s, it became a badge of honor or pride for a woman to sleep around. It became a badge of honor to never get married, a badge of honor to never become a mom. And so
It's suicide.
a part of me was conflicted because all through my early 20s, I had, and it took my dad dying before I realized how important family was. And that was in my mid 20s, and what that meant to me, and that I needed to break the shackles of modern day feminism, because it had gone beyond that. It had gone to the point where, is it really my liberation that are you really encouraging me as a female, and my race, my female race, you're encouraging us to just go lay down and open our legs to every Tom, Dick, and Harry because that's my freedom? How is that freedom? How is that, there's no there
It's
where
not.
why do you have pride in that? Why do you have pride in saying I don't need a man? I mean, sure, I get there's a point of where we don't need a man, but it's okay to want one, and it's okay if you do need one. That's the problem I have, is that anything outside of this liberal orthodoxy that I was taught growing up, this like supreme feminism, anything outside of that orthodoxy, well, that's just not okay. And then now it's just gone way too far in the other direction. And I personally think it's a good thing. You're a dad of both a boy and a girl.
Yeah.
I think it's a good thing that up to a certain point, girls and boys are the same in terms of, if, perhaps the girl is smarter than the boy, or vice versa, or whatever. But whatever, they should be afforded the same opportunities, the same, if they want to go to college, they should go to college. If she wants to be a plumber and he wants to be a chef, they should be afforded those equal opportunities, but not at the cost, not at the expense of the other, by saying that you're a piece of shit because you were born in a white male body. That's where I draw the line.
But that's feminism today, right? I mean,
and that's where I draw the line.
No, I am your enemy. Like, if you listen to these people, they will tell you that me being not even white, just being a male, is just, when Kamala Harris, the only reason she got shellacked is because black men refused to turn out for her. And so they immediately played the misogyny card. There's more women in college today than men. Women earn more money than men do. Women have got every advantage, and the masculinity is, well, look right there. You have a bunch of little beta male cucks, just like, just walking around. There is no more important job. Listen to me. You guys who are watching this, I know you're going to watch this on clips and on YouTube. The most important job in this world is a woman's job of being a mother. That is foundational.
I agree.
Find yourself a woman.
100% agree.
Now, ideally, she doesn't have as many miles on her as my Dodge truck does out in the parking lot. Find yourself a good woman. Don't get a whore. If you get a whore, expect to be treated like a cuck, okay? Get yourself a good woman, a woman who will take your last name and will give you babies.
Hey.
That is the most important thing in this world. And then you do whatever it takes.
I don't know about the last
family.
name thing. I don't know about the last name thing, because as far as I'm concerned,
well, you're a celebrity.
A man I called dad, gave me my name,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's any other man's place to take that from me.
Doesn't matter. You live in the West, you marry, become one flesh, you take his name.
If I voluntarily do it, sure, that's up to the woman. That's fine. But
Yeah.
I think
Okay,
that's
but
a voluntary thing.
okay, fine, whatever. I don't care what you're saying. But that's the thing though. Young men who are listening to this right now, that's what you do. Get married, go to church.
But so what did they teach you though? What I mean, were they telling you that you can't
That
say certain words?
yes,
You can't
they were
like
trying to
what?
what they were trying to teach me was that I'm in a position of privilege, even though I have no authority whatsoever over my work conditions, even though I make less than the women who manage me, even though I do more work than the women that I work with, that I am inherently, and not just me, but men in general, we are the problem. Our foot is on the neck of trannies, queers, women, basically anyone that does not anyone. If you stand up and pee, and if you hold your schlong, then you're the problem. Okay,
Oh,
that's
so
the
this
issue.
really was just a shit on men
Yes,
session?
100%. And masculinity is toxic, Manila. The reason why this country
Oh.
is in the problem that it's in is because we don't have enough masculinity. Why is it that it takes me, a guy sitting in this room with 100 other people, nurses, med techs, surgical techs, there's a couple of doctors in there, that it takes the inbred redneck to stand up and say, fuck you, this is stupid. Why does it take that? Why
So it
does it take
doesn't
that?
really matter, your color doesn't matter,
No.
it's just that you were born with a penis?
Yes.
That's what the teaching was?
And 100%. And so it's all about, if you got a trainee that's coming in, you have to acknowledge their fantasy. You got to play along. I refuse to do that. Uh,
I see. So there
if
was some of that.
Of course.
If somebody is a biological male wearing a dress, but this is at work, right? They're saying at
Yes.
work you need to acknowledge.
Yeah, with patients, coworkers,
Oh,
all the above.
yeah, well,
So I mean, it's all encompassing. Keep in mind, medicine is a fact based science, right?
should be.
I mean, women by definition
COVID
cannot.
changed all of that.
I mean, no, women cannot get prostate cancer. Men can't get ovarian cancer. This is called biology. If you have a problem with it, take it up with God, okay? Because He's the one that created the two genders. I have to be careful here because we're on YouTube right now. And so all this was just doubling down, trying to make men afraid to speak out. I'm not
Oh.
afraid to speak out.
But I thought Trump squashed all of that coming back into office. I thought this DEI stuff was dead. I mean, they've defunded. I mean, truly. I mean, I know you work for a private medical system, but at least here in Washington, I don't know if people know, but but our US tax dollars that are spent on federal trainings and stuff, they were spending tens and tens, if not in the hundreds of millions of dollars to pay for these supposed like DEI experts to come give these training lessons like what you're talking about, at least in the Biden years. I mean, tens of millions. There was one lady I saw the receipts for. There was one lady that was coming in to do I don't know, I forget which department, but she did one of these trainings exactly like what you're talking about. She was paid $12 million.
Yeah.
Not for it wasn't like a one-day session. It was like an ongoing thing for this particular agency. I can't remember if it was like State Department or IRS or I don't know, whatever. One of these federal agencies, but she was doing like a month-long training and she was paid $12 million.
Yeah, it is a huge grievance industry where you can go tell men corporately, you suck, we don't need you, you're the problem. And I submit to you that you women who are listening to this, y'all can call me a pig, call me a misogynist, call me whatever it is that you want. At the end of the day, when your eggs are all sterile and your womb is just withered and you're retired and you're 65 years old and you look back and you realize that you have no legacy at all. You have no children, you have no grandchildren, you have no life, you have nothing. The only thing you have waiting for you is the piece of the grave. You look back, and I mean this sincerely, you look back and say, if you had it all to do over again, would you have found yourself a man and had babies? Because at the end of the day, that's the only thing that matters. That's the problem with the West. That's the problem with the United States. Women need to learn their place just like men do. Don't be a whore. That goes for men and women.
Men too.
Don't do
Yes,
it. Oh, I completely agree. It takes both people.
that's right.
Find yourself someone, sack up, have some responsibility, get married, have kids, and realize that that company you're so dedicated to would cut you off the first chance
That.
it gets because you are nothing more than cattle to them.
And if Ted were here, if he wasn't eaten by the bear, he
Oh,
would say,
I had dinner with Ted last night. And I told him this story. Manila, he was just like, is this like, Robby, your balls are dragging on the ground. He said that the fact that you would say this.
yes, they are bigger than the truck nuts that are hanging probably from the back of some lifted F-150 here out in West Virginia.
Okay.
But look, last thing before we get to this, like one quick topic, but last thing I want to say is that if Ted were part of the program today, Ted would be saying this is the result of capitalism, which I wouldn't actually argue, because capitalism is behind the promotion and degradation of the death of the nuclear family. Like a capitalist corporation benefits from being able to have a bigger work pool to exploit.
Of course it does.
So to some degree, I would agree with Ted's communist take, and I know Ted well enough that I'm echoing I'm like he's like feeding me his thoughts from his cabin in the woods as he writes his manifesto. I know that Ted would be saying that, and to that extent, I would agree 100% that capitalism is only, just like during the Biden years, how all of these companies were buying into this DEI woke stuff. They don't actually care. They just know that this is the popular thing at the moment and that you will buy their product if they put a rainbow, flag label hanging from the price tag. Because that's popular right now. That's where the wind is blowing. They don't actually care. All they care about is expanding their means of production, owning more of the market. They don't care if women have babies or don't, if women feel vapid or happy or whatever. They don't care.
No,
They don't care.
I disagree with you. They don't want you to,
They
because
don't want you
if
to what?
they want you to have babies. They do not.
No, I know.
I mean, they do
No, I'm
not,
saying they don't actually care about you. I'm saying they don't care about me.
Oh no, not at all. And they want
Yeah.
the whole reason why
That was my
they
point.
want the whole reason they want to import the entire freaking third world is because they don't want women to have to go home and be moms. You
Well,
don't get.
that's my point. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
They don't want, I mean, and that's why part of my unliberal brainwashing from California was being able to accept myself as being more than just a worker bee, and that I shouldn't feel ashamed that I wanted to find a husband someday and that I wanted to be a mom someday. You have no idea how conflicted I was in my late 20s and into my early 30s, where it was like a tug of war in my own heart. And I think that's a lot of modern women. And I think a lot of the younger women now, like the Gen Zs, I think they are facing that. And that's part of I would even argue, fourth wave feminism of the Gen Z girls that are coming up now, that are like college age right now, that they're where I'm at now after years of conflict and fighting this in myself, that they understand that as a wife and as a mother, you are valuable. That is, I mean, it is a valuable, amazing, we'll call it a skill. You should put it on your resume that you can grow another human inside of you, because 50% of the population can't do that. That is an amazing skill that women have. and that should be celebrated. And I think a lot of the younger women are understanding that and appreciating that in the Gen Zs, whereas the millennials, like I'm an end Xer, just like you, Robby. We're at the very end of Gen X, so we grew up with the millennials, right? So we have the same experiences as people that would be called millennials. Our generation is the group that was brainwashed into thinking you got to just have career. Fuck family, fuck men, you don't need any of that. Girl, you can have it all. Turns out, no, you can't.
No.
You really can't. You really have to set your priorities. And I got to tell you, the freaking hardest thing I've ever done in my life is being a wife and mother.
Yeah, there's no harder job.
And keep in mind, I have had long guns and rifles pointed at me in an unnamed Arab state in a small locked room. That is nothing compared to the most difficult thing I've done here is being a wife and a mother. And it's a prolonged thing and then you work through it. But it has also been, this has been more rewarding than and I've had a wonderful, amazing stint as a journalist. And I would never change that for the world. The world of journalism has afforded me the most amazing experiences in life. I've traveled around the world. I've met the most interesting people. That would have never happened had I not, gone and chased my dream. But as fulfilling as that was, I've never felt more joy and fulfillment in my life than after I got married and had a baby.
Yeah, as I was about to ask you, if you had to choose one or the other, like let's just rewind, go back to 20-year-old Manila and pick between having your husband and having your son and maybe even having more kids versus the career, what would you have picked?
I would have picked family.
There you go.
I would have picked family. But like I said, all through my 20s, I was still living with the California style liberal ideology. Oh, thank you, Brave. Hold on. Well-dressed nerd there. I disagree. It's not capitalism. This is actually a result of trans-Maoism ideology, which is the hidden foundation of feminism, socialism, communism. I don't even know what that is.
I think what it is.
No idea.
I think really where this all just kind of comes through, honestly, and then we'll move on to the last story. You can't tax a housewife by definition.
Yes,
the whole reason why this push to get women into the workplace was that after Bretton Woods,
you get 50% more access to workers.
Yeah, and so then what you do? It's just like with immigration. The reason why wages don't grow is because you're able to import all these workers. The reason why wages have not grown the last 30 years is because there's a glut of workers in the system. If women are staying at home making sandwiches and making babies, you could still have a single income family like you did in the 50s where you could buy a house, everything else off of one income. The reason why you can't right now is because we have too much labor. So we got too many women now in the workforce. So now they got, so now they got to screw that. So that's the immigration.
I can attest to that as an out of work person on unemployment for the first time in my life. I've paid into the system since I was 15 years old. I've seen how competitive the labor market is, and that there are way too many people, especially in my field, way too many out of work journalists than there are journalism type jobs. Not even strictly journalism, because I don't even know that I want to, go back to having a TV show, but any type of journalism. There's way more people in this field than available jobs.
Yep.
And AI is only taking that over. AI is taking that over too. So, in a few years, this kind of, journalism job, it's if you think it's limited now, it's going to be decimated, but in the next 5 years, it's over. It's over. And with the technology, they can create the perfect looking, AI will create the perfect looking journalist to tell you the news on TV. It'll be indiscernible from a real life person telling you the news, the anchor, from AI. 5 years from now, it's over. So for all the women that are out there that are in, and most of them are in knowledge jobs, that's what they're called,
Mhm.
and giving everything to that knowledge job, think again. And especially if you're like a young woman in college right now, you're a Gen Zer, think again about the choices you're making in terms of what you're majoring in, what you're going to do, because AI is certainly going to take probably 80% of knowledge workers' jobs. And how you prioritize wanting a spouse and wanting a child. It I want to make it okay for other girls like me who do believe, yeah, you should get an education if you want. You should travel if you want. You should do all of those things. But you should not feel ashamed if you do want to get married and have a family and try to do those things. That it's, you really can't have it all, but you can try. And I think it's okay for women, and this is what they should be teaching little girls. And you've got a little girl, she's in high school.
Yep.
That girls they should feel okay to say, yeah, I do want to go to college and I want to become a doctor, but I also want to be a mom and I want to be a wife. And they should not feel embarrassed to say that, because honestly, I did. I was ashamed even when I started getting those flickering feelings after seeing my dad laying there in a casket, and it all hit me. And I realized, this is all you got. Me and my brother are all my dad had.
Yep.
And that was the moment. I was 25 years old, the moment that the wheels turned and I started unwinding 25 years of California liberal ideals, and the shame that I felt for saying that I wanted a husband. That's not okay.
Yeah,
Women
not
are
screw- yeah,
don't
not
want to say it.
screwing. Yeah, not screwing every guy that you meet.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And labeling it as women's lib.
No.
Like, fine, if that's what you want to do, God bless you. Go lay down on the bed with whoever. Like, if that's truly what you want, have at it. But for the girls that were like me, that were secretly conflicted with wanting some traditional family outlines for their life while still chasing their own careers. Like, I wanted to be a journalist. Like, I still wanted to chase that. Girls like me should have been empowered and supported and not shit on by other women for wanting to not only be a worker bee, but to also be a wife and a mother. Because honestly, I felt ashamed and like I was a bad feminist. I was a bad liberal girl for daring to want a husband and a family.
There's no higher honor than to be a bad feminist.
Well, I'm a bad feminist. So it took years to get there, but like I said, it took staring my dad's face in his casket to unwind all of that liberal training, the liberal indoctrination I had in California. And I'm not even a conservative. I'm like one of these middle of the road people that sometimes I fall left on this and sometimes I fall right on that. So I'm kind of this moderate. And I think more than anything, this, and if girls don't understand how far this toxic feminism has gone, it has gone so far that we are now supposed to support guys born with penises wearing a dress to take scholarships away from us girls, hard fought feminist movements, right? That now we're supposed to support the patriarchy in lipstick and a dress to take our scholarships, to take our gold medals from sports, to take, it's swung so far the other way. I cannot even recognize feminism. So yeah, I guess I'm a reformed feminist. I don't know what else to call it, but I think if there's a movement I could support, I would support all the young Gen Z girls out there that are young enough to be my daughter, to say, yes, it's okay to say that you want your career, but you also would love to find love. You would love to find a great husband, and it's okay to be a cis, straight, whatever you are, woman, male. It's okay to be those things and want a spouse and want a family, that, especially for the girls out there, because all of this, like, why do you think Western population is so miserable, Robby? Like, because we've foisted this ideology on the females out there, and Western females are the least happy females. Do you know that? They're the least happy.
It doesn't surprise me. And I mean, no, we're exporting this stuff. No, Japan for the first time had more deaths than births last year.
Ugh,
which is insane.
awful.
South Korea is right behind them. The suicide rates are out of sight. And so my question is how's this liberation working for you? I submit to you, looking at the demographic trends and the suicide rates and the mental illness, not so well. And I'm going to say this. We'll go on to the final topic. Christ is king. Get married. Have babies. Men, sack up. Be a husband. Be a provider for your wife and your kids. Wives, support your husband. Submit to your husband. Love him. That's the secret to happiness. Honestly, you can call
one last thing.
You call me a chauvinist if you want, but that's the secret sauce.
I'm not bothered by men like you. That's the thing. Like, I'm not bothered by your position, and I wish for the younger girls out there, I wish that they would have that kind of thick skin to be open to even hearing it and not being bothered. Like, you do you. Like, don't be bothered. But here, I want you guys to hear this one thing. It's a quick video short. But because I'm a boy mom, like, this matters to me.
I was a feminist when feminism was about equality. Feminism today is all about advantaging women at the expense of men. We have really very much feminist ideology infiltrating all our education systems, systematic programs to continue to advantage girls, and no one taking any notice of the fact that boys are falling out in huge numbers. The girls are 2 years ahead of boys on average. Every measure of boys dropping out, being disengaged from schools. This is the first time ever we've seen a generation of boys who are going to be less educated than their fathers. And no one cares, John. I was a feminist.
I'm a boy mom. So that matters to me. And that's true. The new wave of feminism has, in order to advance girls and women, it has come at the expense of males.
Yeah.
And I feel like that doesn't need to be the case.
No,
So,
and people are going to say that I think that men are better than women. No, we're not. We are a team. Now, there is a hierarchy. Again, I'm coming to you from a Christian perspective. I'm a Christian nationalist. God's first, then it's the man, then it's the wife, then it's the kids. And I submit to you, and I can prove this with superior knowledge, facts, and belligerence. My formula works. Because if you go back to the 30s and the 40s and the 50s, we had higher birth rates. Mental illness is not the problem that is today. People could afford houses. The United States and Europe writ large was a better place than it is now. Feminism is a toxic poison, and it should be put in the dustbin of history like Nazism. Let's move on.
and feminism, you're saying, is lumped in with DEI.
Of course it is, by definition. No, I mean, no, the entire purpose of birth control is to allow women and men to just go and just screw around and do whatever they want to do with no consequence. Birth control is the single biggest toxin on the entire planet. You use it to kill babies. It's okay to have babies. It's
Well, birth
okay.
control does not kill babies. Birth control prevents pregnancy. That's the
Well, there's different there's different kinds. So there's some they'll do is that they'll kill the fertilized egg, and then there's some they'll keep the sperm from actually inseminating. So depends on what you have. I believe life.
No, maybe you're talking about Plan B though. Birth control it tricks your body into thinking you're already pregnant. And I would know. I was one of those people that was on it for like 18 years.
Yeah, and
So,
that's
and who knows? God only knows what damage been done by that.
Yeah, but that's my point, right? I mean, depending on what's going on, the issue is that birth control is a major problem. If I had my way, it would be outlawed today. Have babies.
Well, that's a
Have
whole different.
babies.
Babies are a pain in the ass, but they're so adorable and the most fulfilling thing you can
But
ever
they're the
do.
future.
They really are. Okay. So last thing, real quick. I've done a lot of world traveling, Robby, as you know, being my friend. I have not done much state traveling. So I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to like my own country that I was fortunate enough to be born into. I don't know a lot of these supermarket names, but here it says the most affordable supermarket in every state. A basket of branded groceries at the average grocery outlet in Oregon costs minus 32.71% less than the average cost of the same goods across all major supermarkets in that state. But in California, New Jersey, and Connecticut, Walmart is the cheapest and offers comparable savings. So if you guys can look there, what the key on the map shows, red is Target, blue is Walmart for obvious reasons. Yellow is something called grocery outlet that they just said. Orange is Hy-Vee. I've never heard of that. Food Lion, purple. I've seen one. I've been to one maybe. Price Right. I've heard of that. Price Chopper. Save a Lot. Fiesta Mart. Smart and Final. We have that in California. Top Markets and Super One Foods. Okay, so
Super One's here in Montana.
Oh, I've never heard of that. I have no idea. So where am I in Virginia? Walmart. Okay, so Walmart is the cheapest grocery store for us. And I guess in DC too. Yes, in DC too. But it shows that in Montana, Target is the cheapest grocer.
Well, that's a little bit false because you got to have a super Target for them to have a grocery store, and there's only one or two in the entire state, so that's not really good. Super One is where you go here. If they've got great deals on meats and stuff. This show is not sponsored by Super One. I wish it was. Super One for
I wish. Oh my God. Well, speaking of families, right, and women, and I do the grocery shopping at the house. I mean, I do live largely in my family anyway, by these traditional gender rules. Like I do all the housework and the cleaning, cooking, grocery shopping. So I do know I price shop, especially since we're one income right now. But for us, definitely, well, I shop at Walmart for sure. Like Food Lion is Virginia. Food Lion is okay. Sorry, I don't know why Pennsylvania in my mind became Virginia. Food Lion is I've only seen one though in Northern Virginia because we're flooded where I am in Northern Virginia with Whole Foods and Trader Joe's, and all that stuff is way too expensive for someone like me, like a middle class person in this price range in Northern Virginia to feed a family. Like you can't grocery shop like at Trader Joe's. Like no, like that's way too expensive. Like this.
My wife wants me to drive her to Spokane, Washington, to go to Trader Joe's because she's never been to one.
Oh, she's never been.
Yeah, so
I agree with Tony J.
It'd be a 600-mile round trip to go to the grocery store, and I told her I'm not keen on that.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay, that's too far. But yes, Tony J and Racy, we grow our own tomatoes, whatever we can. But yeah, this is like I don't know these names of stuff. Hy-Vee, but anyway, the price of food is outrageous. I don't know if that has to do with the incoming tariffs that Trump has placed on all of these exporters. I don't know. Maybe it's in part to do with like more people becoming health conscious before Robert Kennedy got into his office at HHS, before all of that, before the FDA was coming under attack, before, people were becoming more and more aware of like the toxic foods in America's food supply. But still, we don't, as this map shows, we ain't got much of a choice, Robby. Like, these are the main grocers.
No.
Like this. So we're kind of, we're forced into shopping at these places, and most of them are processed things, and we have too much food regulation, like at the FDA, in terms of how we can access healthier homemade type things or homegrown or whatever. People, outside of being at a farmer's market, and even then you have to like undergo some scrutiny before you're even approved to be at your local farmer's market. But
what kind of scrutiny do you have to go through? I mean, here we throw one up every weekend on the at the college campus.
I don't know. I didn't look into the one here in Virginia, but the one that comes here to Northern Virginia, but I think they had to get some sort of business clearance or some, just kind of register something, and that you might be subject to like some sort of quality control if they come to the farmer, if they show up at the farmer's market, that you better have like, I don't know what it is, if it's a certificate, or I don't know. I'm not a seller, so I don't know. I didn't really look into it, but you can't just show up. It's not like an open swap meet for people that grow corn or people that grow tomatoes. It's not like an open swap meet. So there's too much regulation in that sense. You're also not allowed to buy unpasteurized milk, right? So like people that,
Yep.
it's kind of a running joke, like people in Virginia trying to go into Dutch country, Pennsylvania, to go to the Amish and try to buy their unpasteurized milk and bring it back across state lines, and you can get arrested. At the very least, they'll take your milk and dump it out. But this is where people grocery shop in the US. How about that?
Yeah, I don't know. To me, that just is insane. I would pay money to see them try that here in Montana. They'd be lynched.
You guys are like in a different country. I don't even know. Like, it's a whole different. I can't even imagine having.
Something.
Not
Manila,
having the local municipality like
if the
knuckling down on you.
If the people in Virginia, if the people who live where you live would pull a Robby and just sack up and just go and actually, I don't know, elect people who don't hate them. Y'all could change this next year.
Not gonna happen.
But why not? I mean, you live, not you particularly, but I mean the people in the people in your county, the people in your district, y'all elect these schmucks. Vote them out.
Yeah.
Vote them out. I mean,
They
seriously.
won't. That's the thing. It's they're
Are your men such pussies that they just cannot lead in any way, shape, or form?
Yes. I'm in Northern Virginia. Everybody's in their comfortable, cushy.
Robert E. Lee was in Northern Virginia and he kicked ass. So
Was he right here in Northern Virginia?
Yeah. Arlington was his house.
Oh, that's right. Oh, and they took his property, right, to make the cemetery. Yeah. That's right.
I mean, guys, y'all need to sack the hell up. Seriously, stand up. What are you gonna do? Call you names? Oh my God. What are you gonna do if someone calls you a sexist or misogynist or, oh my God, a racist, or my personal favorite, a transphobe?
That's the big thing. But like I said, everybody in Northern Virginia has too many ties to the establishment and status quo, and that's why things won't change, because there are too many ties. But you guys out there, like more out west, and you guys are still kind of the wild west, and maybe even North Dakota, maybe even South Dakota. But the farmers too, a lot of people tried to demonize the farmers because of their subsidies or whatever, but people don't understand that even the farmers are basically held at gunpoint to buy like Monsanto seeds. They're forced to buy like all of these Franken foods that they produce. They're not even allowed to grow naturally.
Are you saying we don't have free market capitalism in the United States? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're implying? Oh gosh. I wonder if, I don't know, President Trump could. No, It's crazy talk. Crazy.
That's
talk.
crazy talk. But that's
Crazy.
why all of our Franken food goes to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, basically 6 major grocery companies in the United States. There you go. These are it. These are the big ones. I will say, though, the German brand Aldi, I just read yesterday, Aldi is growing 200 more stores for 2025. So we're more than halfway through. They're allegedly going to cut the ribbon on 200 more stores in the United States. And they are what they call like a private label brand. Because it's a German company that came stateside a couple of years ago, and they are so much cheaper. I have an Aldi by my house, and I go there all the time. They have reasonable prices, but I still know that even though they are not yet like a Walmart, let's say, it won't be long before they're forced into buying the same kind of products from the manufacturing line that Walmart has to buy from. Because once you grow to that big, you hit a tipping point and you're kind of forced into basically the same assembly line, we can call it that. And then you cease to be Aldi anymore. I hope that doesn't happen to them, but I don't know if they know that's how Washington works, because all the senators and congressmen who get the farm subsidies and whatever, and they get their, that's how this works in Washington. So now that they're growing, I think they're about to see how tightly controlled the grocery business is in the US, and how there's a reason why there's only a handful of chains that own everything. Even if you think you're going to a different chain, you're not. So that's all. We're way, 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 way long and way, way, way over today, but great conversation. Producer Robby, we're making a host of you yet.
Yeah. That's what happens.
All right. So I think we get Ted back tomorrow.
Ted will be back tomorrow. Hopefully we'll start making some real money before I get fired from my day job, because that's going to happen sooner or later. So my days are numbered.
Well, stop cussing out your boss. Number one.
She stop being a douche, and I'll make it easier.
If you guys only knew, if I was only cruel enough to hit go live when these things are happening. But yeah, this is, oh boy. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you hit the subscribe button wherever you're tuning in. Again, apologies to our Rumble peeps. I know that's our preferred platform. Obviously, we're a Rumble creator. Yep. So I wish we were there, because that's where we're supposed to be.
I got a reply on our ticket. Evidently is a widespread outage that started yesterday, and they have not got it fixed yet. They are
aware, thank goodness it happened after I did the show.
Yeah. So so that
because I did it
is what it is.
I did it. Oh, but wow. It's
Rumble's not compatible with itself currently.
Well, like I said, I was conflicted with myself. It took a long time.
Well done, Rick Rack. Well done, sir.
Rumble, please fix it. Please. We'd like to go back to our home.
Yes.
Feel like we're the Gazans right now. We're digital Gazans. We'd like to go back to our home.
It is.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Hey, at least I got to troll the people on YouTube for a bit. They got a taste of unfiltered Robby.
That's true. Thanks, guys. See you tomorrow. Ted will be back, allegedly.
Yeah, well, I had dinner with him last night, so he's alive. So,
well, we'll see. Adios, everybody. Bye.